of the COVID-19 pandemic. A person familiar with the matter says Congressman James Comer, the Republican chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, made the recommendation because of statements Comer says Cuomo made to lawmakers investigating his management of the pandemic when the virus was spreading through nursing homes. Donna Warder, Washington.
2 New Orleans area women accused of helping inmates after they escaped the Orleans Parish jail have been arrested. Authorities have captured 5 of the escapees. The other 5, they're still on the run. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Vote for me and I'll set you free.
Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Come together right now over me.
All right, folks, you certainly know what that theme song means by now. That's right. It's time for another episode of America Matters. I'm your host, Leo Zacky, with Eddie Floyd and Shannon Lawson. Joining us today is Joshua Matriciana. Glad to have him riding with us. He's the man. Folks, all across America, a hidden war is being fought on highways and warehouses, jail cells, and online feeds. And it's a war between organized crime networks evolving faster than our laws can keep up, and a justice system racing to shut them down. From an $83 million Amazon heist to teens recruited by cartels on TikTok, and a deportation case igniting a national firestorm. This episode today pulls back the curtain on the chaos, the consequences, and the crackdown. This isn't fiction. This is now. But before we jump into any of this, I want to give a big shout out, hello, welcome, and thank you to everybody out there on 93.7 KPGF as well as AM 1060, and all the folks out there that are listening on Radio for America, the Salem Network, the Answer Network, the Kevin Jackson Network, and AUN Television. And a big thank you to all those folks on those networks that help get this broadcast out there to all of you to listen to. Don't forget, you can always go to the America Matters Media Facebook page or LinkedIn page to watch and like and comment on the show there, or just go to YouTube or Rumble and go to Zacky Radio, like, subscribe, comment, follow, and most importantly, share this information with everybody you know and care about, even the folks you don't. It's good to hear the truth sometimes. So, yeah, make sure you follow us across all those other platforms like Instagram as well. We want to hear from you. But, Josh, lead us in here, brother.
Well, we're starting on this thing. It's called Operation Supper's Ready. Gangs, violence, of course, the $83 million Amazon heist that they just discovered here recently in Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, it was just before dawn here in Los Angeles when federal agents stormed the luxury homes and upscale neighborhoods. And, well, what they found wasn't just cash and weapons. It was evidence of a sprawling criminal empire run by dueling gangs tied to the Mexican mafia. And they've been stealing millions and leaving a trail of violence across the city. And, well, at the center of it all, it's an Amazon fraud scheme worth more than $83 million. And no, this ain't a script off of some Netflix show. This is a real-life situation, and it's called Operation Supper's Ready. So, just a few things y'all need to know about. This is a sting operation that took place here in L.A., and just a few days ago on May 20th, the Department of Homeland Security led a 7-agency raid targeting transnational Armenian-led gangs in L.A. and Florida. And the bust was a result of a 2-year investigation into violent criminal networks exploiting communities across the U.S. They arrested 13 people, including 2 rival gang leaders, and that's Ara Artuni, who was charged with attempted murder, and Robert Amirian, who was charged with kidnapping and torture. So real stand-up guys in the community, to say the least. And the investigation revealed deep ties to the Mexican mafia, including a murder for hire carried out by a Serrano gang member. Damn, this is pretty wild, isn't it, Josh?
Oh man, it gets even crazier when we get into some of the details, man. But the crazy part about this is that it literally happened in our backyards, Los Angeles, just a couple days ago.
Oh yeah, I mean, but this is our city. It's just devolving. But good news is we got a new attorney general down here, Bill O'Reilly. Thanks, Donald Trump, and your team for making that happen. So I think that's going to help very much curb a lot of the crime here in this town. But when it comes to those $83 million in stolen goods, Areg Bezic is one of the central subjects who created a fake delivery company that intercepted Amazon shipments. So things from appliances to beauty products and electronics, they were all routed to warehouses and then resold for massive profits. And this single scheme alone accounted for tens of millions in losses that exposed a lot of vulnerabilities in major e-commerce logistics. So they're always finding a way to game and rig the system in their favor. So,
hey man, criminals are going to exist all the time, right?
It's almost like we should emphasize protections for law-abiding citizens. What a concept. Instead of having to rely on just, authorities to handle business. But, look, the victims are everyday residents of LA neighborhoods that were just caught in the crossfire. One violent incident, involved the public torture of a rival gang associate. It was filmed and circulated to instill fear. I mean, the freaking boldness on these people. And another was a planned assassination attempt ordered by one gang leader against the other during a gang war in 2023, which is crazy to think about. So the bust yielded $100,000 cash, so just some walking around change, and 14 firearms, 3 armored vehicles, and DHS and DOJ officials stressed that the increased threat posed by transnational gangs using U.S. soil as their battlefield is getting a bit out of hand. So we've got do we have a clip of Bill O'Reilly?
We do not have a clip. Do we have a clip of Bill O'Reilly? I don't think we do.
No, I'm being told no. Okay. Well, he did say, and I quote, "They are visitors. They violate our laws. They'll be prosecuted and then removed." I like that. So, this brings up the sanctuary debate and the policy shifts because federal officials are, claiming that sanctuary policies have complicated immigration enforcement and allowing deported criminals like Manuel Garcia Munoz, a violent offender with gang ties, to re-enter the U.S. So the DHS has credited improvements to Operation Freedom under the Trump administration for the success during these stings. It's pretty wild to think about how this is all coming down here in LA like that. So, look, they're not isolated incidents. They're a big part of a pattern. And these international crime networks are exploiting loopholes here. So we gotta stop this. So remember, folks, if you see something suspicious, or some weird logistics activity going on or signs of gang presence, contact the local law enforcement and submit an anonymous tip via the DHS's website. So, anyways, we're going to have to take our first break here in America Matters, but coming up next, in sanctuary states, violent felons have walked free until now. Operation Guardian Angel is rewriting the rules by bypassing state-level roadblocks and using judicial arrest warrants to hold repeat immigration violators accountable. Some call it controversial. Others call it justice finally served. More on this when we get back. This is America Matters with Leo Zacky, Eddie Floyd, Josh Matriciano, and Shannon Lawson. We'll see you in a sec.
In times of market volatility, it can be a good reminder to revisit your financial strategies to make sure they align with your goals. Call 775-674-2222 or visit nvretirementplanners.com. Advisory services are offered through Nevada Retirement Planners, an investment advisor in the state of Nevada. Any insurance products and services are offered through Nevada Senior Advisors. Nevada Retirement Planners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Nevada Retirement Planners does not provide legal or tax advice.
Have you been injured in an accident? Trust Adriana Guzman-Freilich at AGF Law, your local personal injury law firm in Reno. At AGF Law, we pride ourselves on being honest, hardworking, and ethical. Let's meet in person to understand your case and fight for your rights. Located near South Virginia and Plum, we're always ready to help. Don't navigate the aftermath of an accident alone. Call Adriana at 775-453-9595 or visit adrianalegal.com. Your recovery is our priority, and we're committed to getting you the justice you deserve.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm your host, Leo Zacky, with Joshua Matriciana, Eddie Floyd, and Shamma Lawson today. And wow, we're just talking about that Amazon bust, heist, Armenian gangs, Mexican cartel connections, all happening here in LA, but the Trump administration and Bill Silly making it happen, putting it down. So we're going to move on to the next subject here. And, well, guess what? It's right back here in LA, because in the middle of the night here in LA County, a man with a prior conviction for a felony assault who'd been deported 3 times is set to walk out of jail. So under California's sanctuary laws, which are wholly in violation of the Constitution, guess what? ICE will not be notified. So no federal agents will be alerted. No one will stop him. But tonight, something's a little different. A federal task force has identified him through a daily jail sweep in a criminal arrest warrant signed by a federal judge. Guess what? It's waiting. So before he takes a step outside, he's taken into custody again. And not because of politics, but because of the law. And this is called Operation Guardian Angel. So what we're going to be diving into may be the most impactful, some would say controversial, shift in immigration enforcement in recent years. So Operation Guardian Angel launched this month of this year. That's May of 2025. And it's restoring the authority of federal law in sanctuary states like California by bypassing policy roadblocks and holding repeat immigration violators accountable. And if you're somebody who believes in safety, legality, and, well, national sovereignty, well, this is something worth paying attention to. So we got a little video clip here we're going to play for y'all just so you get a little clued in more. So here he goes.
Sanctuary cities and the sanctuary state, this is kind of a way around that, right? How's it work?
It is. So the new U.S. attorney here in Los Angeles, Bill Silly, appointed by the Trump administration, is fed up with sanctuary policies. So he's found what he's describing as a way to neutralize them. So what he's doing is he started this new task force last week. It's called Operation Guardian Angel. They're scanning criminal databases every day, and they're finding illegal immigrants in local jails here in Southern California who have been previously deported from the United States. Now, why are they doing that? If an immigrant crosses the border again after they've been deported, that's a federal felony. It's called illegal reentry. And unlike an ICE detainer, the local jails, even if they're sanctuary, they cannot ignore a federal criminal arrest warrants. They were down at Twin Towers Jail, the sanctuary jail, right, run by the LA County Sheriff's Department. You never see ICE down there. It's been like 8 years. And we were with them, and ICE walked into the jail, took them right out. They had to listen to the judicial warrant.
How did people react to that? How did the folks behind the scenes react to that?
When they went into the jail, the LA County Sheriff's deputies were thrilled to see them.
Really?
And we're thrilled to see them and said, we're so glad you guys are back in here. Where have you guys been? How are you getting around the sanctuary policy?
What are the number? Like what percentage of people would this fall into?
So they say there are tens of thousands of previously deported illegal immigrants in Bill Asaley's jurisdiction. That's
just in this
jurisdiction.
Tens of thousands?
7 counties.
Think about that. Tens of thousands. Okay, look. Let's start with some background here. Okay, sanctuary policies exist in over 300 jurisdictions across the U.S., and they were designed to limit local cooperation with ICE, prohibit police from sharing information with immigration authorities, prevent jails from honoring ICE detainers, which are requests to hold individuals for 48 hours after they're released so ICE can come and pick them up. I mean, this is crazy. Who in their right mind would want to protect not just illegal immigrants, but criminal illegal immigrants? And they would go to these lengths to make these laws and all these things to hamper the progress of justice, Josh. I mean, that's the biggest insult to all of us.
You know what it really looks like? It looks like there's internal infighting between the good guys and the other guys who are still also in the government, and they're trying to stop what the population, the people like you and me, the voters, want to see happen. We want to see crime stopped, but yet there's portions of our government who've been infiltrated say, "Oh no, we are selling out for votes." We're saying, "No, we want that illegal vote, so we're going to hamper the good guys."
It's all because they want to stay in power.
Exactly,
and that's how much they care about we the people, the ones that they're in charge of. They don't care about you. And it's very plain to see. So in 2017, California passed SB 54, which made us a quote-unquote official sanctuary state, which basically violated the Constitution. And this law prohibits state and local law enforcement agencies from using their resources for immigration enforcement, except in what they would deem an extreme case, whatever they decide that is. So it essentially decouples local policing from federal immigration law. But here's the problem. These policies don't distinguish between first-time status violators and repeat criminal offenders who have been deported multiple times. And that's where Operation Guardian Angel steps in. So tell us about it, Josh.
It's clever, obviously. I mean, it's like you said, it was launched just this month, and Bill Asaley, who we really like so far. This guy has come in with fist swinging, and he's not letting these corrupt politicians tell him what to do when he's trying to enforce the law. So, Guardian Angel, it's a federal task force essentially. It's an initiative that targets immigrants who have been, you already mentioned it, previously deported from the United States, who have illegally re-entered, which, is a felony under U.S. Code 1326, and who are currently in custody in local jails within 7 Southern California counties.
Wow. And, some of these warrants here, they've been signed by a federal judge because, ICE doesn't rely on just detainers, which local jails in California routinely ignore. So they use a powerful legal tool to make this happen. So they get criminal judicial arrest warrants. So those are based on a probable cause of federal crime, and they're legally binding on all law enforcement agencies. Surprise, surprise, even on those sanctuary cities and states. So here's how they work. The daily jail sweeps. Those help the federal prosecutors and task forces analyze and scan the jail bookings every day for any potential contestants or people that qualify. Then you got the database cross-matching, which will use biometric data and aliases in criminal records to identify individuals who've previously been deported and are back in custody because they are just such upstanding people. That's why we want to welcome them in with open arms. Isn't that right, leftists? So then you've got warrant filings where, if the illegal reentry is confirmed, then they file for a judicial arrest warrant, and the federal judge signs off on it, and then you have the execution of the arrests. So federal agents, whether it's ICE or FBI or HSI or DEA or ATF, whatever, they enter the local jail, not with a civil request, but with a court order, and they take custody before the person is released. So, as Bill Asaley has put it, this is about public safety and respecting the rule of law. We're not asking, we're enforcing. I love hearing that.
Finally, right?
Right? Somebody actually doing their job. What a concept.
Can I bring something up here that you mentioned that I just think is worth noting again, right? So you mentioned the database cross-matching portion of this, which we know illegal or criminal people don't always use the same ID. They might have multiple IDs, whether it's a fake name or whatever. Well, what they're doing is they're taking a step, and it's a little bit scary when you think about, how they're doing it with biometric data, aliases, but they're taking that extra step to make sure that the hardened criminals who have been slipping through the system multiple times are actually caught in the closing net as Asaley's, starting to close in on them. I think that's awesome.
Well, it's nice to see it finally happening, and I know a lot of people are excited to see this take place in all these counties. I don't know if the sheriff of Riverside is too fond of it, but because he doesn't want to work with ICE, but that's a whole separate subject. But I know a lot of counties like San Bernardino and Kern have definitely welcomed this operation. So they've long expressed frustration, obviously, that these sanctuary laws force them to release dangerous individuals. We know that they're violating all sorts of laws, and even a sheriff's deputy in LA County spoke out anonymously saying that there are times we had to let violent felons go because we weren't allowed to notify ICE. And that's not safety, that's dysfunction. See, the good guys, the real boys in blue that actually make it happen, they hate what's going on. They hate how they have to operate in these, it's like Vietnam with these like screwed up rules of engagement, if you think about it,
It's a good analogy. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the cops on the street, man, they want to see the criminals put away, and then they see their hands are tied with red tape.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame. It really is. But look, the Operation Guardian Angel relies on a criminal justice system, not immigration bureaucracy, and it's setting a new precedent. With these arrest warrants that are enforceable in all 50 states, regardless of the bogus sanctuary city laws, other federal districts are now studying the model, including New York and Chicago and Seattle, places that are rife with this crap. And it strikes a balance, because targeted enforcement hits the people that they want to take out, and it doesn't have to be like a big, massive raid that gets blown out of proportion. So, but look, this is how federalism is supposed to work. We have to, work with each level of government using its tools within the constitutional limits. So that's what we're getting here. But finally, the good guys are taking charge and using the system the way it's supposed to be wielded. So Operation Guardian Angel isn't just a program. It's a statement. And a statement that our laws mean something, that public safety matters, that immigration policies can be fair and firm. So when we get back from this bottom of the hour break here on America Matters, we're going to talk about your kid's next DM, direct message. Well, it might not be from a friend. It could be from a cartel recruiter, from fake job ads to TikTok hype videos. Gangs are using social media as a weapon. And in this upcoming segment, the revelation is shocking. These methods that the cartels are using to lure and trap the youth into a life of crime. We'll talk more about that when we get back from our break. I'm Leo Zacky with Josh Matriciana, Eddie Floyd, and Shamma Lawson. Stay tuned.
Can you define the 4 different parts of Medicare? Do you have Medicare prescription drug gap coverage? At Nevada Senior Advisors, we will walk through the different parts of Medicare, including Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, Part D prescription drug plans, to help you determine which option is right for you. Visit nvsenioradvisors.com, call 775-674-2223 to set up an appointment. Nevada Senior Advisors is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Federal Medicare Program or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.
I used to love going for long walks, but my back just doesn't cooperate like it used to.
Same here. But ever since I started a routine with Active Life Integrated Health on Moana Lane, I feel more flexible and in control. You should check them out.
This is Dr. Tom Waldorf. Let's make it happen so you can feel better naturally. To schedule the beginning of your transformation, call 775-842-0065 or visit activelifereno.com online.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, I don't know anything about jewelry at all. I don't know anything about diamonds. I need to get something for my lady.
Well, you know what, Jim? Come on in. We are your local jeweler, and we want to be your personal shopper. For 27 years, we know that we are doing business directly with the right manufacturers. We have negotiated great prices. They have the right trend, the right designs, quality, from earrings to pendants to you name it, we've got it.
That means you're going to help me from beginning to end.
My family, we've been working for this for a long time. I don't know how to change oil or anything, but I know diamonds. I know jewelry. So if you want to come in, you don't have to worry about anything. We'll find the exact gift that you're looking for that's going to make you look like $1 million, that you really took the time and effort to choose something, not just say, I'll take this. You know, your lady will know that you took the time and found a beautiful gift for her.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd and Josh Matriciano. We got Shanna Lawson there in the booth. And, well, before we went to the break, I mentioned how we're going to talk about how these cartels are using these digital traps to recruit young kids into their gangs and criminal lifestyles via social media. So it starts with a message, that, hey, want to earn $1,200 a week as a private security guard? No experience needed. DM us for details. So young Javier, age 17, clicked. And 3 days later, he was blindfolded, stripped of his phone, and shipped off to a ranch in Jalisco where armed men waited for him. And what he thought was a job offer, turned out to be a recruitment ploy from one of Mexico's most violent cartels. This is a digital trap, and a special episode of Behind the Scenes where we expose how organized crime syndicates are using social media platforms, the same ones that your kids use daily. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, how they use them to recruit and manipulate and control vulnerable youth. So today, we dive deep in how the Mexican cartel and a Central American gang like CJNG, that's Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, and MS-13 have weaponized social media, turning it into a hunting ground for the next generation of foot soldiers. That's pretty scary. I mean, Josh, you got some kids. I wonder if they're using social media. I don't think they're old enough to want to look for a job yet, but...
Well, here's a scary thing. Social media can infiltrate anywhere. What the social media that we grew up with, essentially the very early parts of it, like MySpace or whatever, is just a fraction of what the kids are exposed to today. Even, my, 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, I mean, they get pings on their stuff, and I have to keep an eye on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's important that parents take that, because for us, they were just data scraping information off of us that we were willingly giving up. We talked about that another episode. But they're using fake job posting on platforms to get these kids in with, promises of quick legal income. And then, they're often invited to a remote location under false pretenses, and then boom, forcibly inducted into cartel life. And it's pretty crazy. I mean, in some of these cases, they perform ritual violence designed to psychologically bind them to the group. It's so wild to think about.
We've talked about this before. This is a pattern of behavior. In a previous episode, we've talked about sex trafficking, and they are very similar in the way that they go and they recruit. Very influenced or children under the age of 18. But this is another side of it. It's not just for the sex trafficking side. This is for the violent side. So they're targeting men instead of women, and that's where we kind of see this start to unfold.
Yeah, and you're seeing on TikTok, gangs post under now banned hashtags like cartel TikTok or #narco life. And then you got videos glamorizing cartel life and flashing money and cars and weapons and lavish parties to appeal to the youth. And they're using emojis and regional slang and trap music. Those are all things to mask, the content from the moderators, or at least the algorithms. So they use the psychological warfare on these kids. And once they're in, it's pretty hot. It's nearly impossible for these kids to escape. And these kids basically, it's leave and die or stay and eventually go to jail or die. So it's a death cult essentially. And you're seeing reports of these kids being forced to commit brutal acts like mutilations or executions, hell, even cannibalism. To desensitize them and to create a point of no return where they are wholly just in the system. I mean, it's so crazy. I mean, if you go through Mexico, you'll see how a lot of these areas, like these cartel gang members, they all pray to demons and stuff like that. Did you know that?
Man, there's a huge. I watched an expose on this. There's a huge amount of devil worship and demonic activity that they literally tattoo demons and entities onto their bodies and make blood covenants with them. There's an underside, which is not just violence, but it's accompanied by a spiritual, let's call it a deception.
Oh yeah, and if you were worried about God being, something that was going to help these kids out, not when the devil gets involved. So you got the Jalisco Ranch case here, where dozens of these youths disappeared in 2024 after answering a Facebook job ad, and they were found at a cartel training camp.
Wow.
And then you got the MS-13 ones, where in the U.S. here, minors were lured via DMs into committing gang-related murders in New York and Virginia. And then you have the global implications from that. I mean, cross-border operations that the cartel's running. They're recruiting from the U.S. and transported into Mexico, or they're used as traffickers or couriers. I mean, it's crazy. Law enforcement's struggling to keep up with this stuff because of the decentralized nature of these gangs and the encrypted apps that they use, like Signal and Telegram. So it makes it pretty difficult. But TikTok and Meta have started banning cartel-related content, but gangs are adapting far faster than the platforms react. So, Josh, the question is, what can we do? I mean, you're a parent. What would you say as a parent?
Well, first and foremost, monitor all of your kids' social media use. Have conversations with them about the dangers of, opportunities, whether it's like, oh, this guy, how they can get scammed, brought into, my kids are too young to talk about work. But they still get they've gotten scammed with like Roblox dollars or whatever. It's happened. They're like, oh man, they took my money. I'm like, kid, I just gave you $15 and you gave it to someone. He's like, yeah, well, they said that they were going to give me a skin or whatever. Anyway, that's the opening conversation, because it just gets deeper and deeper and more devious the way as they get older.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just got to teach kids to be aware of this at all times. That everybody's trying to snake some cash out of them. So, look, educators and community leaders need to launch awareness programs in schools for sure. And parents, you should definitely bring this to their attention, because they don't think this is a stupid question. They probably don't know about it. And then
Just to chime in one more time here, it does depend on the individual teachers. Like one of my kids had a teacher that was very, very focused on how they conduct themselves online. So as a fourth grader or a fifth grader, you get a teacher who goes in there and gives them real life steps to protecting their safety in there. So, having a teacher who takes that extra step, and I've only interacted with one teacher who's actually done this out of, the dozen or so teachers that I've interacted with over the kids, my kids' school lifetime. There's only been one that really put and highlight safety and proper use of time and what you do with computers and the internet. So I would say that educators, on an individual basis, should really be instilling how important this is, because children are innocent. And let's be honest, kids are dumb. They don't know. That's why they're in school, to learn. And you have to have teachers that take that extra step.
Well, you'd hope they'd be learning, but, schools are doing a lot of indoctrinating. But look, the tech companies got to step up this moderation, and that's where sometimes AI comes in, because local languages and slang don't wait for public pressure. They just keep evolving, skibbity this and skibbity that, right? That's some new stuff that these Zoomers are going on about. I have no idea what the hell it means. But then you got to get the policymakers involved in supporting legislation to mandate that social media companies and cooperating with law enforcement. And look, to all you out there listening, you got to share this episode, because these stories aren't just happening over there. Okay. They're unfolding in neighborhoods like yours.
And just to chime in again, look, there's nowhere that's safe from the internet. If you've got a cell phone, you are a potential target. Your kids are potential targets. And look, every single day I get, like just in the past 3 days, I've probably gotten, 30 unsolicited texts from people saying, hey, do you want to, we're a recruiter. We're looking for somebody who can do this work. And of course they're spam, but I know that because, my whole life, you see these kind of these schemes evolve. But, kids or even people who aren't necessary or who are down on their luck, and they're like, oh my gosh, I just got this random tech for a possible opportunity. I'm really short on cash, and this would really make ends meet. If it seems too good to be true, it is.
It probably is. Yep.
No, not probably. It is. If you're getting an unsolicited text,
you're right. Leave the element of doubt out of it. I get these text messages. It's so frustrating. All day. Oh, we read your resume. It's like, dude, I never gave anybody my resume. What the hell are you talking about?
And a lot of this links back to other, shows that we've talked about before, where we're talking about data breaches, where they have your name and your phone number, and, unsavory characters purchase your data for pennies on the dollar. And then they use that to try to get you into a scheme. So there's all these different kind of tentacles that each one of these are related. And what it comes down to is you need to be aware. You need to protect your children, have conversations. That's the first step.
Communicate. Be involved in your family. Be a responsible parent. Simple, basic stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes you wonder how a lot of these kids wind up in these messes in the first place. It's just like, where are the parents?
Mm. So it's a whole generation without fathers, man. The government becomes daddy.
That's how they like it. So, well, look, coming up next, folks, we got a suspected gang member who's deported in defiance of a Supreme Court order, and a U.S. senator defending him from Salvadorian prison. Is Kilmar Abrego Garcia an innocent man, or proof that our immigration system is too slow to stop real threats? So this upcoming segment digs into one of the year's most explosive legal clashes. And we'll talk to you more about that when we get back from our last break here on America Matters. Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Shannon Lawson, and Josh Patriciano. We'll be right back.
I used to love going for long walks, but my back just doesn't cooperate like it used to.
Same here. But ever since I started a routine with active life integrated health on Moana Lane, I feel more flexible and in control. You should check them out.
This is Dr. Tom Waldorf. Let's make it happen so you can feel better naturally. To schedule the beginning of your transformation, call 775-842-0065 or visit activelifereno.com online.
Can you define the 4 different parts of Medicare? Do you have Medicare prescription drug gap coverage? At Nevada Senior Advisors, we will walk through the different parts of Medicare, including Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, Part D prescription drug plans, to help you determine which option is right for you. Visit nvsenioradvisors.com, call 775-674-2223 to set up an appointment. Nevada Senior Advisors is not affiliated with or endorsed by the federal Medicare program or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.
Hi, I'm Noreen Leary, CEO of the Veterans Guest House. Guest House is a home away from home for our veterans and their families who travel to Reno for medical care. Our house is more than just a warm bed. It's a place of camaraderie where veterans can find support and long-lasting friends. We serve veterans, men and women, young and old, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard, and Air Force. Wherever they hail from and whatever their circumstance, the Veterans Guest House is ready to support them. The reason we feel so strongly about our mission is that we know that many veterans would forgo their medical treatments because they simply can't afford the accommodations. The Guest House is one of a kind in the country, funded entirely through private donations. Want to know how you can help? There are many ways you can be involved, from volunteering, providing dinners, or supplying items from our wish list. Find out more about the Guest House at www.veteransguesthouse.org. Serving veterans today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Eddie Floyd, Josh Matriciana, and Shannon Lawson. And, well, the hottest topic that everybody's been talking about. The senators are getting up in arms over this. We're talking about the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Okay? Picture this, folks. A man with alleged ties to one of the world's most violent gangs is granted protection by a U.S. court. He's lived in Maryland for years and eventually gets deported, only for politicians to claim that, guess what? He's the victim. So Kilmer Abrego Garcia, a Salvadorian national who was accused of gang affiliation and suspected human trafficking, is now at the center of a heated battle between U.S. executive and judicial branches.
You know, one thing about this, and I can't wait, because at the end of today's episode, we're going to be playing a little clip. It's a fiery clip from an elected official, and this, to be honest with you, is one of the best kind of conversations that I've heard. But before we get into that, I'm going to let you lay out what the heck is going on. Who is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, this guy that President Trump has even been talking about?
Yeah, who, if you don't know, has gang tattoos all on his hands, but that's a whole, right. It's just alleged, right? So the court here ruled that deporting him would place him at risk due to El Salvador's gang violence because he's so innocent. Well, check it out. In March of 2025, this deportation took place, and he got deported and imprisoned to CCOT there in El Salvador, which is pretty much hell on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fun place to be. So, you can see, for those of you watching, you can see that we've got tattoo hands of Mr. Garcia right there. Anyways, so the government is claiming that the Trump administration initially cited an administrative error, but later clarified that Abrego Garcia was suspected of being a member of MS-13 involved in human trafficking. But he was allegedly seen in 2019 wearing gang-affiliated clothing linked to MS-13's Western clique through a confidential informant. And in 2022, he was pulled over in Tennessee with, get this, 8 undocumented passengers, no luggage. So it doesn't sound like he was driving a limo for some night out on the town. So, this scenario is often flagged for a trafficking activity. But guess what? No charges filed because but the red flags were raised, so it's a shame. So now we've got these photos going around that are showing MS-13 tattoos on his hands and neck. And, well, if you spend, 30 seconds researching it, it's pretty apparent that those are gang tattoos. But, the critics claim that these images were doctored and, including a widely shared image showing MS-13, tattooed on his knuckles. And Homeland Security has not confirmed or denied the authenticity of these. So
I remember that, and I think that Trump was he was actually kind of put face to face with a reporter who was saying, no, the letters MS and the numbers 1-3 that were on his knuckles, those were photoshopped. And he's like, yeah, but that was just for clarity. The M, the S, like these are symbols that represent that. So it's not like they're just going to put on literally the letter MS-13, but there were symbols that represented that. And that's where I feel like the left-leaning, mainstream media has been pretty deceptive about that. And there's like, it's, they were doctored. Well, no, they're his real tattoos. They were just showing that and, basically writing that on there to help the people who didn't understand that a skull represents the letter S, right?
No, 3.
Oh, see, right.
Yeah, the smiley face with the crossed out eyes is an S. The marijuana leaf is an M, and the cross is a 1. So
Right.
marijuana leaf, smiley face, cross, skull, and crossbones. Well, that translates to MS-13 or MS-13. So very clear that they're gang tattoos because our law enforcement agencies have decoded these years ago. So it's not like, oh, this is hyperbole. No, it's known stuff by our law enforcement. But who doesn't know what it means? The average person on the street. And clearly, these corrupt members of the corporate mainstream media running interference.
Right. Just like they don't know what hot dogs and spirals mean.
Yeah, or hot dogs and pizza. Yeah,
hot dogs and pizza. Right.
Yeah. So, what's crazy to me is that this guy has never been charged or convicted of gang-related crimes in the U.S. And the courts have ruled in his favor based on a quote-unquote lack of formal evidence. So it's not a proof of innocence, but, come on. And even the Supreme Court ruled his deportation violated due process. But, look, I'm not a big fan of the Supreme Court. Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, all these weak judges. It's a shame. So the good news is the guy's down in El Salvador in custody, where the government considers him a threat.
As they should.
And look, and even the president of El Salvador has said, yeah, he's a Salvadorian national. Was there in the Oval Office, said it publicly. I don't know if you didn't see that or not, but that definitely happened. So, this case involving this guy, it's just the woke left hating Trump with the Trump derangement syndrome. You want the open borders because they want to have a swath of illegals that come in and get Social Security cards or just vote illegally to keep them in power because of the handouts they're incentivizing them. So you've got Senator Chris Van Hollen personally visiting this guy down in prison and publicly defending him. Think about this. A sitting U.S. senator has gone down to El Salvador to visit a 100,000% confirmed gang member, illegal alien, criminal, crime committer, and say, I support you, I defend you. I can guarantee you that Senator Chris Van Hollen doesn't know diddly squat, or worse, doesn't care, because it's not about the right thing. It's about the agenda. Okay? So former Senator, but now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in a fiery Senate hearing, dismissed the defense with we deport We deported gang members, including that one you had a margarita with. And there's a photo of that interaction. So Van Hollen pushed back, saying no alcohol was consumed, and calling the setting a media trap.
Sorry, that's so ridiculous. I mean,
sorry, am I not seeing 2 glasses with salted rims, limes in there, and maraschino cherries on?
And the other thing is that he flew down there on the public's dime. He used public money to fly down there and have margaritas with a criminal.
Yeah, and even if it's not, it's I don't know what other drink it could be, but it's certainly served up, and it's either a salted or sugared rim. Eddie might be the expert on that. Can you identify what that cocktail is, Eddie? But anyways, we got a clip here I wanted to play for you guys, so take a watch at this one.
I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job based on what I know.
Well, that's just
your
a
record and
flippant
what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You
Mr.
may.
Chairman?
I didn't
Okay.
ask Senator,
Question.
please let the Secretary have I'd be the floor. happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well-
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
Secretary,
Chairman,
please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial support services.
I
for
raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I
not
respond, Mr.
Mozambique.
Chairman, or do I?
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes.
I chose to
trailing on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my
suspend
time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're going to
Chairman,
see who you went to
look,
defend.
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary.
He's such a clown.
Isn't it nice to watch our government work so well together? I hate these horrible people. I really have to hold my tongue.
Me too. That whole clip, we only played a portion of it, but that is so worth the watch. Like, that took my respect for Rubio. Little Rubio, as Trump used to call
Little
him.
Marco!
that took it to a whole nother level. The way that he laid this guy out there, and that senator, he's such a clown, and we can see it. And Rubio did not waver. He goes through point by point. I mean, that's the kind of people who I like to say, hey, I voted for. I love those guys.
Yeah.
Let's see more of that.
I agree. So I agree. I think he definitely got some points in my book for someone who's been very low on my totem pole. So he's moved up a little bit, which is good. But look, we may never know the full truth about this guy, but we do know this: when it comes to immigration enforcement, what's legal isn't always what's safe. Unfortunately, we're out of time here on America Matters. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Memorial Day. All of you. Have a great rest of your day.